On today's episode of My First Deal, we have Alec Schaal. Alec is currently doing deals all over Florida and has already started to pick up some of his own investments. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel. Lauren and I made this channel to document our journey from total beginner to financially free, hopefully inspiring you to get started today. Also, share this episode with a friend, because that first deal can seem a million miles away when in actuality, it's probably right around the corner. Okay, let's go. Alec, what's up, man? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, brother, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. I know you're getting ready for the big fight, so that should be fun. I always appreciate investors coming and hanging out on a Sunday.
Yeah, for sure, brother.
Awesome. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and sort of paint a picture of what your life was like before real estate and what got you into real estate?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in real estate for about 2.5 years. So it's 2023. Started a similar time as you from our previous conversations. So got started in October 2020, September, October 2020. And I got started because I graduated college in 2019 to go a little bit further back. I had a corporate job in sports. So I was working in sports. I was working in sales all 2019 after graduation. And then in 2020, I was still working in sales with sports. And if anybody remembers what happened in 2020, COVID, the sports world shuts down. There's no more sports to watch. There's no more sports on TV, and there's no more sports in person. So there's nothing to sell. So of course, the first people to let go are salespeople selling, season tickets and like luxury seating and stuff, because there's no games, So I went from working in sports, which I really wanted to do in college, to now unemployed. So about April whatever time frame after COVID, I was unemployed. I was still living in Miami, so I'm from Miami. I was still living in Miami at that point. I was like, yo, what do I want to do? I didn't know what to like do and stuff. And I was really good at sales. So I was trying to like figure out like what path I wanted to take. Ended up like finding like wholesaling, just through like social media and stuff and other people telling me about it. So I found wholesaling. I was like, man, I could just apply these same sales skills I learned, like cold calling to sell season tickets, to, maybe cold calling to buy houses. So I studied the business for a little bit over that summer, during that like COVID summer. And then I was still living in Miami. I actually couldn't afford rent at that time. So I moved back in with my mom in August of 2020. And I was like, okay, now I'm living with my mom. I could start this wholesaling thing, or I could try to apply for new jobs. Wasn't getting any new jobs. Decided, all right, fuck it, like let's just do the wholesaling. So I was living with my mom, and I decided just to jump into it. Got deal machines, started driving for dollars, and just cold calling. Fun fact though, so when I was living with my mom, she has a small 2-2 condo, and it was just me and her. And she's a teacher, so when she's teaching, obviously she needs the whole house. It's a small condo. She needs the whole condo. So there's nowhere for me to really cold call unless I cold call from like my car, which I don't really want to do because that's just burning like gas and stuff. I need AC. It's in Florida. So I actually ended up going into her laundry room and like setting up like a little fold out table in her laundry room and like closing the door. And I just like huddled in that laundry room like all day, just cold calling. I would drive for dollars in the morning, cold call for like 8-9 hours a day. So that was September, October 2020, and did that for a few months, and eventually got my first deal in 2021. So that's kind of like the story, and then since then it's just really history. Like I haven't looked back.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy how many people, I mean, in my wife and I too, because we were in a band and we were like live music shut down. Didn't see that coming as well, but being able to pivot like that and then having those sales skills and then seeing, I think, the possibility of what you could get as far as like building wealth for yourself through real estate. I think that was like an excellent choice, I mean, what kind of drew you? Because you go down the like, how can I make money sort of rabbit
Yeah,
hole, and then
yeah,
you
that
got
little
like
rabbit hole.
stocks and stuff. You got like I could like have
Drop
an
shipping.
Amazon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All that. So what was it about real
yeah.
estate? Was it a person that you were following, or did you have people around you that kind of pushed you there? Or what? How'd you end up there?
Yeah, so I would say the most influential person in that journey was probably my dad. So my dad works at W-2. He still works as W-2. But with his W-2 income, he bought real estate. So when I was in like high school and college, he bought real estate. So he probably owns like maybe like 7 houses. He's bought throughout like the past like 10, 12-ish years. So he buys like one every like couple years. But he buys from wholesalers most of the
Nice.
time. So
Oh,
he's like,
great.
yo, like look into wholesaling. Like you like sales, like maybe you could just apply these sales skills. And him telling me that was like what like made me interested in it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been as interested in it because I knew like it worked because he bought from wholesalers before. Like I saw like I saw people make money. Like I saw the HUDs and stuff and like what he told me. So like that was like the proof of concept.
Let's go, dad.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Right on,
the
dude. Yeah,
man.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's great to have at least that proof of concept before you did it. So now you go from like, I mean, you know a little bit about real estate, but then wholesaling is its own journey. Figuring out, okay, I gotta, like you said, drive for dollars. I mean, there's a pretty laid out path, which I do like about real estate. You're not having to reinvent the wheel. People are like, do this, do that.
Yeah.
Step three, do that. What got you through those first few months? You're moving back to mom's. I don't know if that's an ego hit for you or you're completely fine with
Yeah,
that. And
big
then,
ego hit.
yeah, and then you're in
Yeah,
the you're in the laundry room,
yeah,
like
big
on the
ego hit there too.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But like you pushed through that because you believed in yourself. You know what you were capable of. What kind of like kept you going right there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it like partially was just like to be able to like tell the story. Like man, like this is gonna be a good story to tell in the future, like where I like started off from, which is absolutely like it wasn't the bottom, right? Like I had a safety net with my mom and my parents and that like I'm not on the streets, but I mean it's kind of like closest to the bottom. So it's like coming from there to like where I am now, where like I have my own apartment, like a good business, a good good lifestyle. Like I'm happy. So I mean like that, but also just like knowing that like I've seen so many other people do it. Like I would watch like wholesaling podcasts and like all these podcasts I'm sure you watch and like what you're making now, like which is awesome because like I would watch podcasts like this, be like, man, these guys are doing it. Like, why couldn't I do it? And I almost like thought of myself as like better than most of these people. So I'm like, bro, there's no way that this guy's killing it and I couldn't.
There you
You know what
go.
I mean?
Hell yeah.
So it was like competitive too. But
Love
I
it.
mean, that's just like the entrepreneurial spirit. Like, man, if somebody else can do it, like I can do it too. So that just
Yeah,
got me going, and just seeing like where I could go and like seeing how I could grow and stuff.
absolutely. Yeah, love that, man. Definitely that belief in yourself it definitely helps.
Yeah.
So let's jump to that first deal. Let's kind of do a little deep dive into that. Was that from your driving for dollars list or kind of break that down for
Mhm.
us?
So I'll do my first deal I got under contract.
Okay.
And then I'll do my first deal.
There you
So
go.
I'm still a little salty about this first deal I got under contract. So the first contract. So I started cold calling in October, and in like mid November I was like I didn't really know what I was doing. So like I would when somebody calls me back from a cold call, I'd still answer it and stuff. Like now I just send it to a voicemail box, which I'm sure most people do, but I still answer. I was like, oh, whatever. And a dude calls me back. He's like, "Yeah, I want to sell it, but I'm not selling unless you come to the house." So this was in a good area of South Florida, and it's a fourplex in South Florida. And I go to the house. He shows it to me. It's fully occupied. I had no idea what I was doing. I walked through this house. I'm like reading the paper in the AC. Like, oh, okay. Like I didn't. I had no idea. I'm like I go on the floors. I like knock on them. I'm like, okay, they look good.
So good.
No like contracting experience, like
Yeah.
nothing. I'm just looking around. I'm like, yeah, it looks good. I'm like taking pictures. Yeah, I'm gonna show this to my partner. Like he has a better idea. Like I was just like making shit
There
up,
you go. Yeah.
but ended up getting this fourplex under contract. It was my first time getting something under contract. I had no idea what I was doing. I sent the contract, he signed it. I'm like, wow. And I got this fourplex under contract for like 450. So it was like 100 and change a door.
Damn.
And I tried to sell it, and I was having a really hard time selling it. I also didn't want to partner with anybody. Like, I'm like, no, I could do this myself. Like, it was like ego, it's all ego.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I could do this myself. Like, I don't want to split it. Like, man, all these people, no, like, I'm good. So I actually had buyers go out there. I cold called a lot of people, like a lot of buyers, and I couldn't like sell the deal. And I ended up having to cancel it. And I canceled it at 425. That fourplex is probably worth like 800 now.
Oh God.
And somebody got it under contract after me, another wholesaler. They got it under contract like a day after me, and they made 50,000 on that wholesale.
No
So I'm,
way.
yeah, I saw it all happen because I'm on that guy's like buyers list.
Right.
That's one thing I did was I joined a lot of buyers list. And I saw him like sell it. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, keep me posted on this, and he told me what he sold it for, what he got it
Oh
for,
man.
and he made 50 on it, and that thing's worth like 800 now, just because of inflation, during all of
Right.
COVID. So that was my first contract. I canceled my first contract. No idea what I
Oh
was
my
doing. A lot of
God.
regrets on that.
That's okay.
But I
Yeah.
kept going, kept going. My first deal, so that one was probably like just a list. My first deal was actually from another absentee list. It was an absentee Fort Lauderdale list, and there was a cold call. The lady says, "Yes, I'm selling it. I'll sell it for 240." And I went to the house. It looked good. Didn't need too much work. So I had some sales knowledge, so I was able to like negotiate a little bit. I got it for 230. And I got it under contract. I kind of knew more about contracts and stuff from that past experience, so I learned a lot from that experience. I'm going through it quick, but like I learned a lot on that first contract. Like I had no idea what I was doing, and like I learned like contracts and assignments and stuff, just fumbling my way through. But my first deal, I got under contract for 230, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna sell for like 240, 235, 240, and I was having a hard time selling it. So I'm like, I'm not gonna make the same mistake. And I actually sent it to a guy in the local market that has a really big buyers list, and he was able to sell it for 235, and we split it 50-50. So my first deal closed. I actually assigned it on December 31st of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So right, starting the new year, I had my first contract, and it closed probably like mid January, like late January, and made $2,500. It's actually that right there.
Yeah, dude.
That's the check for my first deal.
That's so good.
That's a little $2,500 check, but yeah. So I kept the check, and that was a list that I cold called. But then my second and third deal were driving for dollars, so like the driving for dollars list started like come through. But yeah, I mean, my first deal, I JV'd it, split 50-50. And it's funny because I sold that house for 235. The guy who bought it fixed it up, put like 30 into it, sold it for like 350, which was a huge flip for them. And now the house is worth about 500 because it's downtown Fort Lauderdale. So it's like, man, looking back, it's like, man, you just kept all this stuff, but you didn't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first deal. And it just, I kept it going. Like there was a lot of ups and downs. I'm not like talking about that I'm sure you experienced and everybody experienced, but I mean, looking back, like I'm glad it all happened and it all worked out in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And you kind of need those mistakes. That's where you are actually going to learn because you could watch 100 YouTube videos, read all the books, go to all the forums. It's not till you're out there doing it that you realize what do I need to learn for the next time? Maybe I got to figure out some stuff when I'm walking the property, like what I should actually be looking at. And then having the contract where you got to cancel it, you see somebody else do it, you're like, okay, so I need a buyer's list now. But how, I'm out
Yeah.
here, I'm out here getting the contracts locked up, so I don't have time to work the buyer's list. Maybe I'll team up with somebody that has a buyer's list. Now we both, now we both win. Now, have you built out your buyer's list since then? And then are you just doing everything yourself? Or are you still JVing a lot?
Yeah, so I just closed a JV deal last week. Actually, with the same guy that I closed my first deal with, coincidentally. We still do deals to this day. But yeah, I have a big buyers list. I mean, with a buyers list, I feel like there's a balance where like a lot of people like they brag, oh yeah, I got like a 50,000 buyers on my buyers list, but then they don't know any of them and their open
Mm-hmm.
rates like low.
Mm-hmm.
So I have about 2,500 buyers on my list.
Okay.
Each one like I added myself, so
Wow.
it's not like trading buyers list with people and stuff like that. Like it's all like catered. And my open rate's almost like 50%. So
Wow.
I'm getting a lot of people to open it. So I think that's a better like brag kind of than
Mm-hmm.
to have like just a big list. But yeah, I mean, I dispo probably 75% of my deals. I
Nice.
dispo myself, and then I do JVs. I'm always open at JVs, and then I'm also open to helping other people sell deals. So it's like a balance of that. But yeah, I mean, leveraging other people, because like, and you experience this too, where especially when you're first starting, you're doing acquisitions and you're doing dispositions, and it's like when you get the deal in acquisitions and then now you're moving to the dispositions and your acquisition goes down a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to like balance it, especially starting off when you don't have VAs and like employees and stuff or partners, to like, stay a balance on all like, kind of like pillars of the business. So
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, God, I've met some great people just through like the Facebook group and reaching out to people, especially in sub two, and you form these partnerships where you find everybody's superpower, and then you kind of just leverage that so you can get a conveyor belt going, and then that way you can kind of scale from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sub two is great too to leverage. Like I love that community because like let's say I get a deal in like California, I just, hey, anybody in California, and then like you hit me up, you're like, yo, I could check out this house for you. It's just like such an easy way of like finding people. Hey, I got a deal in like Long Beach. Like, can you help me dispo it? Like, yeah, I got you because I don't have buyers in Cali. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think like having a community is like super powerful too to getting your first deal,
Right.
because you can leverage other people's experience, buyers list, and network in those markets. And I think if somebody is not giving you the time of day, where like you're like, hey, can you help me with this deal, and they're not giving you the time of day, then like that's not somebody you want to work with, right? Because somebody that is giving you the time of day sees the value in like a long-term relationship where they can make money too off of your deals and help you at the same time. So community is super important. JVing and like working together is super important. I would have made a lot of money on that first deal if I was open to it, which I wasn't, and that's why I closed my second deal, or my first deal, my second my second contract.
For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, and that
yeah.
that was kind of gonna be my next question was if you could go back, knowing what you know now, to that first contract, what would you have done differently?
Man, yeah, definitely would have been to work with other people, and be more open to that. I was just like so like hard headed on trying to like do it myself and like thinking that like I was like some like sales like wizard and like the all powerful. Um, but yeah, I mean, if I was open to working with other people more and more like open minded, I would have
Mm-hmm.
gotten that one done. And then, but it was a learning experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if that didn't happen, would I have closed my first deal? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? And to this day, I'm still doing JVs, right? Like it just it happens. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess just working with people. I just think it's such a powerful like thing in this business is leveraging other people's experience.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, what sort of advice would you give to people that, they're on YouTube, they're reading the books, they're going to the free Facebook groups, and they're kind of just consuming, but they're not taking action. I mean, it seems like taking action for you is a really easy thing. You kind of just jump into it and you take action even though you don't know everything. And that's, I think, a big part of what keeps people from taking action is they think they have to have the whole process figured out before they even do anything. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I had like a funny saying for that where it's like somebody's like the experienced real estate investor, like the experienced wholesaler, but like is like knows everything about it, but like has never like done it. You know what I mean? It's like they know everything, like they know all the contracts, like all the ways to get leads, but they just never have started. So it's like they know everything about it, but they never became it. So it's just like, man, just take action. Like I think I heard so you heard like the 80-20 rule,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows like the 80-20 rule. If not, it's like 20% of the actions you take like affect 80% of the results. So it's like 20% of your leads or 80% of your revenue. But there's another rule that's like the 40-70 rule, which I really like. I don't know if you're familiar with
Mm-mm.
that. But it's a good rule. So it's like, imagine like a scale from like 0 to 100. And like 0 is like not even like on your radar. Like you don't even know what real estate is. You don't know what wholesaling is. 100 is like you're like a professional. Like you're like Pace Morby, you're like Brent Daniels, like whatever, like let's just like the most experienced wholesaler. So it's like 0 to 100. And then like the 40-70 rule is like, imagine like in there is like 40% to 70% of like a knowledge level. Like that's the perfect zone to like start, right? Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're in like maybe 0 to 30 or 0 to 40, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know enough. And honestly, I would say probably like 20 to you could start at like 20% in wholesaling realistically, but let's just like
Mm-hmm.
go by this like example. Like the 40% is like the perfect place to start, because that's when like you know enough. And then the 70% is like, you don't, if you're starting after this point, you know too much and you're not going to take action because you're going to overthink it. So it's like you want to start in like this like period where you know enough to get started, but like you don't know too much where you're going to overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I always think about. So like I'm buying an Airbnb, I'm probably close to this like 40%. Like I'm learning, but like I don't know, but I'm gonna figure it out. And like wholesaling, like I was probably close to like 20 to 40%. Like honestly, when I started cold calling, I didn't even know what a mortgage was. The person's like, "What happens if I have a mortgage?" I'm like, let me talk to my partner. Yeah, I looked it up on Google. I'm like, fuck, what is a mortgage again? So I was probably closer to like that 20, like 0%, honestly. But like the chart, like it could like fluctuate a little bit, but like the summed up, like the summed up like synopsis of
Mm-hmm.
whatever that word is,
Yeah.
idea, the concept is like be in like a zone where you know enough but you don't know too much, because if you know too much, you're going to overthink it. But as soon as you know enough to take action. So, I mean, like right now, steps to take action for anybody listening is, download Deal Machine, drive for dollars, skip trace that list anywhere, prop stream, you could skip trace on Deal Machine, you could skip trace on Batch, like whatever, don't overthink it. And then just start cold calling it, put it into a dialer and cold call it. And all these platforms have free trials. And that's the perfect like amount of knowledge that you need to get started. And just watch some people cold call on YouTube and stuff. Just get like a free script. So that's my opinion. I don't know if that made
Yeah.
sense how I explained it, but
Yeah. No, I love that. And you could even kind of bring that out to even a higher level to where maybe real estate investing in general, if you go from 0 to 100, maybe wholesaling gets you to that 30
oh, I like
40%.
that.
And
Yeah.
then from there, now you're moving into the short-term rentals, buying and hold, and then you move into like, I don't know, the huge multifamilies or something.
Multifamily. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
that
That's
could kind of
perfect.
get you there
Yeah.
too.
It's like the
Because
entry
yeah,
drug.
exactly. Because yeah, wholesaling, I was the same way. I found a local mentor, but that first deal that I had, I literally called him for everything. Like I did an agent outreach. The lady called me back and was like, "Hey, I have a deal for you. I need a cash. I have a cash buyer." I was like, "Okay." And then I called him. I was like, "Would you buy this?" He's like, "Yeah, lock it up." I was like, "Okay." And then like everything she asked, I was like, "Hold on 1 second." And then I would like pick up the
Let me
phone.
talk to my partner. Just like loop
That's
him in
the
on the call next time.
exactly yeah. That's the golden line for anybody just starting out. If you don't know anything, I have to talk to my partner.
Oh, I love it. I even
Yeah,
still say it to this
me too.
day. And like
Me
I don't
too.
have a partner.
Hmm.
I upload like a lot of call videos on YouTube, and I always say it, like you always hear me saying it, because like my negotiation strategy, and if I feel like yours is probably similar, is like I'm never in power. I'm never
Hmm.
like the guy. I'm never the decision maker.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh, you want 260? I mean, like I'll talk to my partner and see if I can get him to come up, and then it's just like me sitting
Yeah.
there, like
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
hey, my partner said 250 is the highest, so I'm never like giving the bad news.
Right.
So yeah, talk to your partner. I love the partner strategy. I teach that to everybody that asks me. Like I don't do mentorships, but like whenever somebody asks me, like I always say that like you're never in charge. Like you have a partner. It's such a good negotiation strategy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
Wholesaling is definitely entry level. It's like the entry level drug, and eventually, I think the problem people have is they stay in wholesaling too long. and then they're a wholesaler in 5 years. It's like, how long you been wholesaling? 5 years. I'm like, dang, like I hope I'm not a wholesaler in 5 years.
Hmm.
Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But yeah, just level up and keep like evolving. Like you could stay in like this comfort zone of
sure.
wholesaling and, closing these deals, but it's a roller coaster. You're only as
Hmm.
good as your last deal.
Yeah. 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 It just becomes one exit strategy that you kind of apply to every deal that comes across your desk. You're like, oh, you cherry pick the best ones. All right, we're going to take this one down ourselves. Okay, we're going to make a huge flip if we can, or a huge profit if we can flip it. So we'll flip it, and then if it doesn't check any of your boxes, then go ahead and wholesale it. So you can kind of make money on any part of the deal. What
Yeah, no, I love that you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like through all of this, getting started, taking down your own property, all the way up to you now taking down, this short term rental. Who has been I'd say, like the biggest supporter through all this?
Man, I never even thought about it, to be honest. I mean, my parents have always been like super supportive. I mean, my therapist is supportive. I go to therapy. Big
Nice.
fan of therapy. If
Hmm.
anybody is ever questioning it, like I'm not like ranting about like personal problems. Like it's more just like ranting about my day, and then
Sure.
just like having somebody to like analyze it. She doesn't even talk most of the time. It's just me like rambling. But it's just like I guess myself really. I mean, I'm just like, you could do this. Like you can do this. I have a lot of local mentors. Like I have a lot of like good friends in my local market that like I ask questions to and like help me answer questions, and I do the same for other people. But I mean, really the biggest supporter is me. Like I'm just like, I always have to like put myself up to do things. And that's like a selfish answer, but like it's like true. And I think that's what it has to be, like wholesaling, like especially when I first got started, and if anybody's getting started, like you need to be your own biggest supporter. You can't rely on other people's like third party perspectives. Like I was living with my mom, and like I remember like before I got my first deal, like I was in the kitchen like making chicken or something. My mom comes out to me and she's like, "Yo, you sure you want to keep doing this? Like it's been like 2 months, 3 months since you started and you still haven't made money." I'm like, yeah, like it's gonna happen. She's like, "You sure?" She was
Hmm.
skeptical, and it wasn't because like she didn't love me. It was because she did love me, and she didn't want me to like waste time and do all this. So you have to be your own supporter. Really, you can't
Hmm.
rely on third persons, to do that. You have to be your own supporter, because if you rely on other people, you're going to continue down that path. I don't, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like I'm rambling,
No,
but
no, no, no. I,
yeah,
I absolutely agree. Yeah, because there's going to be times where people don't see the big picture, especially if you're thinking like 20, 30 years down the line, which real estate kind of helps you do that. You're like,
yeah,
okay, if I, buy a bunch of properties now, and just hold on to it, you're going to be like this genius investor in like 20 years. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like you look at some of the house prices in the 1970s and you were like, oh, if you just bought like four or five of those, you'd be a multimillionaire. It's
yeah,
like, it's not like the hardest thing, but but getting people on board for that, because people's mindset are just like, oh, how can I make money today? How can I make money tomorrow? How can I make money in a week?
yeah,
This month, paycheck to paycheck. It
yeah,
really helps you extrapolate that out a few years, which um, you start realizing other investors think like that, but maybe your friend group and all that stuff isn't quite on board yet until they see you
yeah,
making that money. So the
yeah.
belief in yourself is huge.
Yeah, and regarding like friend group, like I'm still friends with like a lot of like my college friends and stuff, but none of my college friends are in real estate. Like I still like all my boys, like I still love them, but like you gotta like level up your circle too. Like I'm like some of my like best friends nowadays are like real estate friends and like mentors and stuff like that. Like I'm friends with so many now that are like in the real estate world. So it's just leveling up your circles, and like you spit ideas off each other, and you make new businesses that like you wouldn't make with normal people. You need people with like the same mindset. So I like how you said that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so now tell me a little bit about the future of investing for you, your future this year, next 5 years, and then how can people partner with you, JV with you, and tap into your buyers list?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think I'm better than just a buyer's list. Like I supply a lot of support, probably more than most other people, just because like I like helping people. I don't even have like a paid mentorship or anything. It's just helping people and just JVing. So I mean, feel free to reach out to me. It's Alec, ALEC underscore Schaal on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Post on everything, Facebook. But yeah, I mean, regarding like my plan, like, and you mentioned this earlier with like exit strategies, but like, what is wholesaling, right? Like, wholesaling isn't like it is a business, but it's just an exit strategy, right? Like, wholesaling is just an exit strategy for a real estate deal. It's just that, right? Like, you can get a deal under contract and you could make, okay, what do I want to do? Airbnb, rental, or wholesale it? It's just an exit strategy. So it's just kind of like pivoting my exit strategy priority into more like the buy and hold and cash flow side. Like this year, my goal is cash flow. Like that's what I want this year is cash flow. I'm tired of like chasing deals and chasing paychecks and going through this like roller coaster ride of, oh, this is a big month and now we're in a short month. This is a big month that everybody in wholesale has but nobody talks about, right? Because it happens. So I want cash flow. I want like a safety net. So my main goal this year, and like I titled my like goals this year is like the year of cash flow. So like
Nice.
that's what I want this year is cash flow. So I'm buying this Airbnb on creative financing. Like I want to get more creative financing deals. My goal is to have 5,000 in cash flow, which a lot of people are gonna be like, that's it. But like, yeah, I mean, like 5,000, like it's an obtainable goal, and that covers all my living expenses plus more. So if I can get 5,000 cash flow, like I could travel more. I want to enjoy life more. I want to do stuff. So that's my goal as of right now. In 5, 10 years, like I want to build like a personal brand, just like with posting content like this. Like I want to build like a personal brand and have just a whole bunch of cash flow, buy multifamily, buy whatever, and just live off of that. So I mean, I think as I developed, like I don't really care about these big checks. I care about like the continuous checks. You know what I mean?
Love it. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yep. And that's the financial freedom, man. You get everything covered to where,
yeah,
you don't have to think about it. And even in your sleep, you're making money. So that's what we're all
yeah,
chasing.
that's the
And
goal.
you're definitely on your way. All right, you guys, as we kind of end, as we wrap up here, I'm going to need all of you to subscribe to the podcast, for weekly motivation and send this to somebody that's just starting out, maybe somebody that doesn't have their first deal yet, and let them hear Alex his story and kind of like how he persevered through those few months, even though mom was like, "What's going on? You should be making money yet," because we've all heard that. It's like you've been like dropping some money on these lists and you're not getting anything back yet. And he had to believe in himself. So there may be someone out there who needs to hear that. Send that to them. Don't let them quit. Because sometimes hearing from people that who have just done it can kind of keep them going, because oftentimes that first deal is right around the corner. And so right after this, go on Alex socials and drop him some love. Make sure to hit him up with any deals that you have in Florida, and really any deals you need help with, because he's a wealth of knowledge and he can help you get it through the finish line. So now go ahead and Alex, send us home. Give us one piece of advice you would give yourself before you got that first deal under your belt.
Yeah, so and this was what I told myself when I first got started, and like I love thinking about this, is like look at like where we are. Like I don't know when you're gonna be posting this, but we're recording it at the end of February, right? That means we're going into March. Bro, like it feels like it just became January. And it feels like just before that COVID was like a few weeks ago. Like time goes so fast. Like so fast. If you could just sit down for like 2, 3 months, just take consistent action, like it'll go by just like that. And like your life can change just like that. Because if you don't, like that time just flies by. Like next thing you know, we're gonna be at the end of 2023 and it's gonna be 2024. And like if you're not taking some kind of action, like it just flies by. So just think like yourself in 3 months will be appreciated of yourself now. Just like how I am now, I'm very appreciative of Alec 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, for like putting in that hustle, because like he saw what could happen in the long term game, right? So it's just like think of like time, like man, time's going to keep going. So are you going to do something with it, or are you just going to keep letting it, do something with you? So I just time goes so fast. Like just do something, like it, just take action every day, and small actions build up, and you'll get a deal. You're just one seller away. You know what I mean? Just one conversation away from finding that person that wants to sell. So that's really my best advice. Just do it.
Love it. Yeah, that's perfect, man. That's the perfect way to end it. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate your time. We're going to link up after this and do some deals, and then also just business in general. So
Yeah, brother.
I'll definitely be reaching out to you during the week, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Hey, this was fun. I appreciate you having me.
All right, later, man.